Hey, Salvador Brickman here. Welcome back to the Life of Freedom YouTube channel. And today I want to get into 7 ways to combat autopilot, to combat the autopilot brain. So we're going to be talking about a few different ways to remove autopilot or to combat the autopilot brain in your life. These are effective ways that I found to deal with this problem. In case you're not familiar, the autopilot brain is basically when you think of it, you're driving down the street and your mind is on something else. You're thinking about the past or the future and you're just kind of doing things on autopilot. You're doing things habitually and you realize that you went past your exit. Or if you're getting ready in the morning, you kind of forget actually where you put something. You put down your toothbrush, you thought you did, and you're like, wait, it's not there. You forget things when you're on the autopilot brain because your mind is elsewhere and you almost are not paying attention to what it is that you're doing. Not only is this harmful in your own life, it also leads to a sense of not really connected with my environment. And finally, it's horrible when it comes to relationships because when you're on autopilot in a relationship, you can't be present and thus you can't really build that relationship. The first way to remove autopilot is through regular meditation. Meditation in any form. The type of meditation that I like to do is basically sitting meditation where I'm sitting for 15 to 20 minutes at a time. I'm concentrating on my breathing, I'm concentrating on the present moment and just being aware of the thoughts that come up, the emotions that those thoughts cause, and then kind of recentering my attention and my focus back to the present moment, back to my breathing. And in that way, over time, I begin to be in the present moment for longer and longer stretches of time. Initially it might be like, I only have 5 seconds in the present moment and then my mind is off thinking about a future worry or thinking about the past or some random movie that I saw, a week ago or something like that. And that's causing me to feel X, Y, and Z. I'll bring my attention back to the present moment. I have a great video on how to do that. And that then allows me to recenter myself over time. And eventually at the end of that meditation, I feel so much more present and so much more aware of where I am. The next one is to cancel out thoughts. So we always have thoughts every single day. You can't really stop yourself or stop your brain from thinking. It's always eventually going to come back to the thinking mode or thinking or the overthinking mindset. What you can do is you can cancel out thoughts of past/future worries. So this I call ruminating, where you're kind of like stuck in a thought loop where you're constantly thinking about something that happened to you in the past. You're constantly thinking about this worry. And it's okay, it's a little bit healthy to think about maybe things that you need to solve or things that you need to change in your life, specifically when you set aside time to do that. But if you find that it's interfering throughout a day and you keep doing that, you have to make a rule that anytime your mind goes there, you're not going to engage it. You're going to cut it off and you're going to refocus on either the present or something else. Always try and catch your mind. And it'll initially be a little bit hard to do this, but eventually you'll start to notice more and more, oh man, I'm thinking about that thing that happened to me 2 years ago. Or oh man, I'm thinking about that trauma that I experienced when I was an early adult. Or I keep thinking about the future, this thing I got to do. Eventually you're just going to say, nope, not doing that. And you'll keep focusing on something else, training your mind to cancel out those things. When we're in a state of like stress and anxiety, we tend to go more into an autopilot mindset because we're like withdrawing into ourselves. But also when we're in a really boring, monotonous, or very similar everyday routine, we tend to also go into autopilot. So the third way to remove autopilot is to change up your everyday routine. With newness comes attention to the present moment. If you're doing something and you've never done that before, like let's just say you never took a yoga class and then you go and take a yoga class, it's hard to be on autopilot because you're like, oh, this is kind of weird and like new and trying this out, meeting all these new people. When things are new, it's very difficult to go on autopilot. You kind of your brain is almost commanded to attention because it is something new. If you visit a new country, you're like, wow, this is cool. This is New York. This is new. Or you go to, sorry, not country, I guess, but city. But a new country, going to like the UK or going to Germany, you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is new. You're not thinking about your worries. You're taken out of your distractions because it is something new. So the best thing you can do is to switch up your everyday routine. If you're doing the same thing every day, you're going and getting your coffee, you're going to work, you're coming home, you're watching TV, you go to sleep, you repeat the cycle over and over again, eventually you're gonna get stuck in a Groundhog Day mentality and you're just gonna go on autopilot where, yeah, I go to my coffee, I kind of forget what I did at work, kind of forget this, the days begin to blend together and you realize, wow, it's been 3 months already, and that dinner that I had with my friend, that was like 4 months ago. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize how quickly time passed. That year went by, and it's like, what actually even happened in that year? There's no present moment awareness, and you're on autopilot so much that you kind of like go light speed with your life a little bit. So you want to change up the everyday routine, even if that just means after work, for an hour, maybe going and attending an event or going to a museum or doing something that is out of your everyday routine. Maybe instead of just staying in your little cubby, trying to engage some people at the water cooler or talking to people or trying out a new painting class or doing something that is different from the everyday. The fourth way to remove autopilot is to live on your purpose. Live on your purpose. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just first examine like when you're not living on your purpose. Let's just say you have a job that you really aren't very integral to the company. What you're doing is not meaningful or valuable to anyone, and you're not making any kind of an impact. It's so easy to go on to autopilot when you feel like your actions aren't being taken for granted or don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. You're on autopilot because you're not living on your purpose when it comes to your career, or you're not living on your purpose in your life. And actually, the going on autopilot is a way to cope with those negative emotions that you feel, that sadness, that depression, that guilt, that you're not actually doing what you want to do. You're not actually living the type of life that you want. So you go on autopilot as a way to sort of distract yourself from that fact, and also as a way to kind of remove yourself mentally from that moment. It's a coping mechanism. This is a bit of a longer journey of how to live on your purpose, and I have some great videos on how to do that, which I can link up down below. But basically, the closer you can align your life to your true purpose, the more alive you will feel and the less you will go on autopilot. The next effective way to remove autopilot is to have or plan an adventure. Now, how is that different also from changing up the everyday routine? So have an adventure. By adventure, I mean going somewhere and doing something that you've always wanted to do, or something that is exciting and thrilling, something that puts you out of your comfort zone, something that's going to create a memory for you that you're going to look back on when you're 80 years old. You're going to be like, yeah, I did that thing and that was awesome. Having an adventure is important because human beings need something to look forward to. If we don't have something to look forward to, we're just living a very monotonous day-to-day life. Things are not really getting better or worse. It's very blasé, and that causes us to go into this autopilot mindset, or kind of engages the autopilot brain. When you have something cool you're going to look forward to, like you're going to go skydiving, or you're going to go to this cool new country, you're going to go jet skiing, these are all things that you can look forward to, and you feel more alive when you're engaged in those activities. When you're on an adventure, you're on a road trip with your friends, you're going to this new place, it's exciting. It feels like you finally again are alive, and it's impossible to be on autopilot when you're doing something so thrilling like skydiving, because it doesn't mix. Even just intuitively, it doesn't feel right that you'd be like on autopilot when you're on a roller coaster. You know what I'm saying? To have an adventure planned at least once a year, I would try to do it multiple times a year. It doesn't have to be a big thing necessarily. It's just something that's new. Go and shoot a gun. Go to an axe throwing kind of thing, an axe throwing bar, or go and do something fun. Having an adventure, something to look forward to, is a great way to remove autopilot. Also, getting active. This is also really hard because we all lead sedentary lives because of the nature of our job. You get home, you're really tired, you don't want to do anything. The more you can get active, though, I promise you, it's going to get you out of that autopilot mindset. If you're playing flag football, or you're playing soccer, or you're playing baseball, you can't afford to be on autopilot because you're going to get hit with a ball. So you have to be in the moment. The more active you are, not only does that affect your brain chemistry and your hormone levels and all of these different things, your neurotransmitters, but also it focuses your attention on that particular activity, and it's almost like a Zen-y kind of thing. It's almost like a Zen kind of consciousness. When you're doing something you're so engrossed in, you go into a flow state and you feel alive. The final way that you can remove autopilot in your life, and this is probably the hardest one, at least for me, I find, is to stop solving problems. Stop solving problems. Whenever you solve a problem, in your life, or if you're in a relationship and you try to solve someone else's problem, it detracts from your ability to be in the present moment. You can't be both solving a problem and be fully in the present moment. They clash, because when you're solving a problem, you're thinking about that thing and it takes you out of the moment. You can't fully, truly experience the present moment in that way. The key to removing autopilot is to recognize that you don't have to solve every single problem. It's okay if a problem goes unsolved, if maybe you have to wait until tomorrow or next week to sort of pick up that problem again and to start working on it. Everything doesn't have to be solved now. And in particular, in a relationship context, you don't always have to be solving someone else's problems. It's okay for them to allow them to also solve some of their problems. If you're like me, a business owner, I'm always looking at different things as problems that need to be solved. And it can sometimes be difficult when I'm in person with someone and I'm thinking about that other problem. But recognizing this fact that you don't have to solve everything, and also it doesn't have to be solved now, will allow you to remove that autopilot brain and really reclaim the present moment as yours. If you are resonating with some of the lessons and teachings that I'm sharing with you right now, number one, would love to hear in the comments down below, and also subscribe to this channel. But number two, I got some great videos for you. So go and check out the description of this video. Go and look at some of my other content. And the sort of crux here of this is that I'm not saying that you can't be successful, you can't achieve things, you can't be ambitious, but you recognize the difference between solving problems and doing these things in your work life, and then what's really going to also bring you happiness in sort of your non-work life, in your own spiritual journey, and aligning, if you haven't, your life on a purpose, and I can help you do that. Again, my name is Sal. Thank you for joining me on this video, and I will see you next time.